Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to part 3 of my tutorial for the deploy assignment for the EZU project. And the first thing we're going to do here in part 3 is we're going to check two settings on Python Anywhere to make sure that our Python Anywhere system is ready to deploy. Okay, and the first one has to do with checking that we have the right system image on our Python Anywhere virtual machine. And if we don't, we're going to change that. Okay. All right. So, how do I know about this problem? Well, because I have it myself. I've had my Python Anywhere account for, I think since 2018, about 3 years. And it's slightly out of date. Okay, so pretty typically for virtual machines that you use out in the cloud like this, um, they generate one for you, and it has a current kind of state of the operating system and the files on it, and it typically doesn't change over time. Okay, and the reason they don't change it automatically is sometimes when you change these kind of infrastructure things, you break the applications that are on it, and then you have to go repair things. Okay. Um, so, what's the problem with my system at Python Anywhere? It doesn't have the right version of Python available. So, how do I know? Well, I've come to my account, I've logged in, and I've clicked on this lower navigation bar. I've clicked on dashboard. Okay. And I have the opportunity here to create a new console. Okay. And if I look at Python, just take the drop down for Python, you'll see that the versions available are 2.7, 3.5, and 3.6. Now, 3 years ago when I set up this account, 3.6 was the version of Python that we were using. So that was great. Okay. No longer the true. In the current semester, in the spring of 2021, we're using Python 3.8 in the course. It probably won't be long in future semesters that we're using 3.9. Okay. So we need to refresh the system image that we have here. Okay. How do we do that? Well, I've put a link in the weekly schedule to an information article on Python Anywhere that's called Changing Your System Image. So these are the instructions that I'm following. Okay. They might change over time, but I think that they update the document. So it turns out that at Python Anywhere, they have these system images that you can pick for your virtual machine, and they have code names. Okay, and the one that mine was created with is called Danger Mouse, and it's supported up to Python 3.6. And it looks like the newest one as of today. But if you go look, you know, if you're playing my video a year from now, there may be even a newer system image available. So, but the one that I'm going to be looking for today is called Fish and Chips. The one before was called Earl Grey. Um, what I think is interesting is the Python Anywhere folks are in the UK, and these are all kind of code names that have to do with culture from the UK. Okay, if fish and chips having to do with uh, English food choices. Okay, so I'm going to pick fish and chips, but consult the document and see if there's a later one that you might want to choose. Okay, so where do I find this? Well, when they tell me to navigate around the user interface, I always have a little bit of a hard time. But they say that I want to go. I want to go to the account page, and that I want to look for the pencil icon next to the name of my current system image. Okay, so let's do this. So how do you get to the account page? Well, there are two navigation bars on a Python Anywhere page. The lower one is how we found our way to dashboard, but it's the upper one that's going to help us to find our way to account. So we want this account up here. All right. And then there's a group of tabs across the top. When you go to the account page, you see a lot of advertising to pay for an account. And that's great if you want to do it, but we're not here to do that. We want to find the tab for system image. So we're going to click on that. Okay. And you can see current system image, danger mouse. Okay, well, that's not the one I want. I want fish and chips. So I'm going to click on the pencil icon to edit it. And there's a drop down, and looks like the latest one is fish and chips. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to click on save. Now, so then we say default Python versions. Python should run, let's pick 3.8, okay, and save. And the editor run button should use, let's do the same, Python 3.8, and save. Okay, now I just want to warn you, a little late actually, that if you have applications installed on your Python Anywhere account, this might break some if they're sort of incompatible with the new system image or Python 3.8, and a little debugging and repair will get them working. But the thing that works for us here is that these are the changes that we need to deploy our EZU project. Okay, so in the spring of 2021, when I'm recording this, we're using Python 3.8. Okay, now the decisions that you're going to make are going to have to do with what's the version that we're using in the semester that you're taking the course. And the instructions for every assignment are pretty explicit about what we're using in the current semester. If we go up to the top under tool versions, in the current semester, I'm expecting to use Python 3.8 and Django 3.1. So that's where you find what we're supposed to be using. Okay, and I know for sure the next time I teach this, we'll be up to Django 3.2 because it's already released. And I think it's going to be pretty darn stable by the next time I teach the course. Okay, so that's where you get that information. Okay, so we've done that. That's taken care of. Now, I've got a second thing on my list that I want you to do, and that is I want you to set you up. I want you to set me up as the teacher for your account. Okay, that allows me to see your code. I don't know if I could change your code. I don't think so. I would never change your code, so don't worry about it. So how do you find that? Well, again, we go to the account page. That's where we are now, and we find the tab for education. So let's click on that. And under your teacher, it says enter your teacher's username. And the username that I use is trainer01. Okay, and I have that in the instructions. So just if you already have an older teacher, as I recall, there is an X where you can delete that and then put in a trainer1 for me. Okay? I'm not going to put it in for me because I'm not my own teacher. Okay? And what happens is, as a teacher, I get all the students who have set me as teacher. Okay? And it looks like I can remove old ones if I want to, but I've never had that problem. So that's how you get on my list. All right. So we've done those first two things, and now we're getting ready to work on some more significant parts of the deployment. And we're going to take a pause, and we'll be right back to do that. Hi, I'm back from the pause, and we're going to pick up following the part 3 instructions, starting with item 3. Okay, so we don't have a bash console yet, so let's do that. Okay, so from the navigation bar, the lower one, the bigger one, let's click on consoles. Okay, and the way I can get a new bash console is just over here under the category other. I'm going to click on bash, and it's going to start up a console. And one thing I want to warn you about with Python Anywhere is some things go fast, but some things go slow. This is a free product, the version that we're using, and there's a lot of us who are sharing the same server. So there will be times when things take a while, in which case I'll try to pause you so you don't have to wait forever to watch me. So here we go. So that was item 3, create a bash console. And the next one, clone your project repository on the server. That's item 4. That's going to be easy for me, but that's only because I got rid of all the thorny bits. Okay. My remote repository is on Bitbucket. Okay. And let's just go find that. Okay. So if I go to the website for bitbucket.org, here's my top level page. And normally I would say that the way things work is going to be more or less the same, whichever of these services you're using. But more recently, I was helping a student that was using GitHub, and the new version of their website kind of confused me a bit. So I'm hoping that whatever you're using, that you can find the features that I show you here. Okay? Pretty typically, when you're in the top of your account, you can click on a link and see all the repositories that you have. And I've got a whole bunch of them here. But the one that I'm the most interested in is the one that has my EZU project. And following the naming conventions that we've been using in the current semester, it's called trainer_Kevin_EZU. And if I click on that, Okay. I go to a page for that repository. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the URL that I'm going to need to clone the repository on the Python Anywhere server. Okay. And if I go to the upper right, there's a button for clone. And if I look in here, they not only give me the URL for the repository, they also give me the git command, git clone. Okay, now I'm not going to use this while we're here now because with the configuration that I have, both on my Bitbucket account and with my Python Anywhere account, I only seem to be able to clone the repository because this is a private account, so it's a private repository. I only seem to be able to do it if I'm using the SSH access. Okay. The good thing is that that's a really secure access. The challenging thing is that sometimes it's hard to configure. And on Bitbucket, and I'm assuming that there are similar things on GitHub, you've got to do a couple of things. So let's look at what has to be done on Bitbucket. You need to give it the credentials that you're going to log in with. And how you do that? Well, you go to the icon that's kind of your avatar. Mine has my initials, KT. If I click on that, one of the options is personal settings. I go to personal settings. And now I get a whole list of personal settings. And one of the ones that I want is called SSH keys. Okay. So I click on that. And what has happened here is I have given it the public key that the machines that I'm going to use are going to use with SSH. Okay. And the top one, I gave the name ID RSA pub. Okay, because that is the one for my laptop. Okay, so when I've been working with my development server, that's the one I've been using to connect with. And this second one is the public key that's from my Python Anywhere server account. Okay, and what I did is I clicked that I wanted to add a key, and I gave it a name, and I pasted all of the text from my public SSH key right here. Okay. And if you don't know how to generate one of those, there's a link here about how to get there. And this is a pretty good thing that explains how to do it. Okay. All right. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So that's where you add the key. Where do you find the key? Okay, let's go back to let's go back to my Python Anywhere account. Okay. Well, I know I have a key because I generated it. Okay. And I generated it. I'll be able to tell you how I did that in a minute. But where is it? Okay. It's under my home directory, and it's in a hidden directory called .ssh. So if I do a cd space .ssh, okay, that's going to make the current directory my SSH directory. And if I do an ls to show what's in the directory, you can see that I've got two keys, one called IDRSA and one called IDRSA.pub. IDRSA.pub is the public encryption key, and IDRSA is my private encryption key, right? And so what I need to do is to look at that key, okay, and get the text out of it, and then paste that in on the page that I showed you how to do it. Okay. Now, one of the things that we've been looking at, and I'm going to have to go find it. So I'm going to pause, and I'll tell you what I'm about to talk about. I want you to see it while I talk about it. I'm back. Okay. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to show you a link that I put on the weekly schedule. Okay, I'm showing you the weekly schedule for the current semester, but whatever semester you're in, you'll have an equivalent link. And it's an article called Deploying an Existing Django Project on Python Anywhere. So we're going to click on that. And this has a lot of information about how to do the deployment. So starting about right here, it's a parallel for the instructions that I have in the instructions document for this assignment. I tried to simplify them a bit, but this is a document that you're going to want to refer to. Okay. So the first thing it tells you to do is to upload your code to Python Anywhere, and to do it by cloning the repository, okay, which is what we're going to do in a minute, okay. And if you want to know a little bit more information about how to set up those SSH keys, there's a little link here, uploading and downloading files. Okay. And there's a lot of information here, but there's a place where they say, oh, if you don't have an SSH key pair, okay, like I showed you in my .ssh directory, you can generate one with the command ssh-keygen. Let's make this a little bigger. Where was that? Oh, ssh-keygen. So that's what I did. I was just right here, and I typed in ssh-keygen, and then I went and I looked in my .ssh directory that's within my home directory, and it had created these two files. And then, of course, I used a second one to see it. Okay. Now, how to get the text out of this idrsa.pub? Well, let's go over to the files link. So I'm going to go over to the right side here and click on the hamburger icon and go to files. Okay, and you can see I've got a .ssh directory, and you can see I have an IDRSA pub. Okay, and I have a link to click on the editor in which I can see all the text, and I can copy it, and then I'm able to paste it into the window I showed you up at Bitbucket. Okay, I'm not going to click on mine because I don't want to show you my key. Okay, but that's how I got mine. Okay, so this took me 5-10 minutes to figure this out. Okay, and get all of the SSH keys, get them generated, and then find them, and then display the text within it, and then find the place over here and say I wanted to add a key and paste the text in the key. That took a while. Once you get it working, it works forever. Okay, well, forever is perhaps a bit of an exaggeration, but it works easily. Okay, but it was a lot of work for the amount of value that it created. All right, so I've got that all done. Okay, hopefully you've got all that done now too. So let's go back to consoles. Okay, and here's my bash console. Okay, and just where I was. And I want to go back up to I want to get out of the .ssh sub directory and back to my home directory, which I can do with a cd space ... go to my parent directory. And if I do an ls, you can see all I have here is a readme text. Okay, so I clearly haven't cloned the repository yet. Okay, so again, I need a link to clone the repository. So let's just go back a couple of things. And here I'm on the Trainer Kevin EZU repository. And again, I've got a button up here for clone. Okay. And I'm just going to copy all that text. That's the command I'm going to run. So there's a little copy icon there. And I'm going to close that window. Then I should be able simply to paste that on the command line. So I paste it on the command line, and I click the enter button, and it gives me some messages, and we can see it being cloned right there. And if I do an ls, I will see the top level directory of the repository. So I'm not in the repository yet, but if I change the directory, if I do cd trainer _ Kevin _ EZU, and now I'm in the directory, and you can also see the branch that I'm on. I'm in the master branch. Clearly, that is a Git repository. That's just what I want. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to cd ... to get back up to the home directory. And what's the next thing that we're supposed to do? Okay, so that was for clone your project repository on the server. Okay, so the next thing, if your database file was under version control, then delete the database file, because we want to create a new database file on this server. Okay, well, mine was under version control. Let's just go find it. So I'm going to use the files link. Okay, and when I go here, you can see here's the project directory, Trainer Kevin EZU. I'm going to click on that, and you can see the contents over on the right side, and you can see I have a db.sqlite3. That's the database file that I kept under version control, because if you remember back a little bit earlier in the tutorial, I didn't include the name of this file in my .gitignore file, so I've been keeping versions of it all along. To delete it, I just have to go and click on the trash icon and confirm that I want to delete it, and it's gone. So it's that easy. Now, if you didn't have one, you don't have to delete it. If you haven't been keeping it under version control, then it doesn't get created when you clone the repository. All right, so that one's done. Okay, what's the next thing that we need to do? Number 6, create a virtual environment named E4EZU using Virtualenv. Now, we've not been using that product all along, but I did want us to use it here so we'd get some experience with it. And where do I want to point you to? Well, I want to go back to the document that we have here of how to deploy an existing Django project on Python anywhere. And the next section is called Create a Virtual End and Install Django and Other Requirements. Okay, so it looks like we have a command that we can just paste into our command line. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this and paste it, but I'm going to change the very end of it before I press enter because I don't want my virtual environment to be called my site Virtualenv. I want it to be called E4EZU. Okay, but let's just copy that. And we got to get back to our console. So console's link, click on the console. Okay, and we want to be in our home directory, which of course the shortcut for your home directory is the tilde. So we are in the home directory. So let's paste this into the command line, and everything's fine except for the last argument, the name of the virtual environment. We're going to call it E4 underscore EZU. Okay. Now I'm going to pause you in a minute because it could take a while to build. So now it's starting, and again, it's got to download some things. I'm going to put you on pause, and I'll be back when this finishes. Okay, so that took about 2 minutes, not very long. I think how long it's going to take is going to depend on the time of day, how many users are on the Python Anywhere server, all those kinds of things. Okay, so you can see that we created a virtual environment called E4EZU. It's also been activated, okay, because we see it in the parentheses. Okay, if it wasn't already activated, if you're trying to find your virtual environment, well, yeah, let's just go look. Let's go to the files link. Okay, and we have a sub directory called .virtualenvs, and we click on that. And now there's a directory for our virtual environment called E4EZU. So that's it right there. Okay. All right. Back to our console. Okay. What's the next thing that we want to do? Well, the next thing that we want to do is the next item in our instructions. Let's take a look at that. And the next item says, populate the virtual environment with Python packages using pip, that's the command, and the base.txt requirements file in the configuration directory of our project. Okay, now let's just go find that base.txt. You remember that when we created that a while ago in this, in part 1 of the tutorial, I think, we didn't call it requirements.txt because I'm a little suspicious that whenever I do that, the PyCharm kind of engine starts fooling with my virtual environment, and that's not what I wanted to do. But I go to the sub directory that has the configuration in it. Okay, and then, oh, I'm sorry, that was my high level directory. Let's go back. Okay, so this is the project directory. Okay, this is the configuration directory, it has the same name. Okay, we have a requirements subdirectory. Okay, and within that, the requirements are in a file called base.txt. Okay, so that's how that works. That's what we're looking for. Back to the bash console. Okay, so we're in our we're in our home directory. Now let's come over here and look at their kind of installation document. And here's what he tells you to do. He says that you're gonna want to type in pip install -r requirements.txt. Well, you already know that ours is not called requirements.txt. It's also it's called base.txt. It's also not in our current directory. Okay, now we have two options. We can either put a big path in front of the name of the file, or we can navigate to this requirements directory where base.txt is, and then paste this into the command line. And that's what I'm going to do, because I hate to type those long paths. So I'm just going to do an ls to confirm I'm in my home directory. So I'm going to do a cd to go down to my project directory, trainer Kevin EZU. So now I'm in my project directory. If I do an ls, you can see that my configuration directory has the same name. So let's go down to that, cd trainer Kevin EZU. Okay, and let's do an ls again. And you can see that among the things I have here is a subdirectory called requirements. So we need to navigate to that, cd requirements. Okay, and let's do an ls. There it is, base.txt. So now, because that's my current directory, I can just refer to the file name. Okay, so I'm going to come back here and I'm going to copy this command. And again, I'm going to change it before I hit enter. But I'm going to copy that and paste it into the command line. And you remember ours is not called requirements.txt, it's called base.txt. And again, because we're going to have to download a lot of things from the net, it may take a while, and I'm going to pause you. So let's get it started. Okay, you can see it's bringing down parts of Django and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to pause you until it's all done. Here's the pause. And we're back. And again, that took maybe 2-3 minutes. And oh, this is the middle of the afternoon. So who knows how long it's going to take you. Okay. All right. So we're way down in our directory structure. And I want to get back up to where do I want to get back? I want to get up to my project directory. So as you can see, I'm way down. I'm in the project, and then I'm in the configuration, then I'm in requirements. So let's say we want a cd ... that takes me to the configuration directory, cd ... that takes me to the project directory. That's where I want to be. If I do an ls, you can see the course info app, manage .py in my configuration directory. Just what I wanted. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's find the next instruction. Okay, Um, so we've done everything through 7. So now we're going to begin to configure our production server using the Python Anywhere web link. Okay, so let's find the web link. Again, go over to the upper right, click on the hamburger icon, choose web. Okay, and right now we don't have any web apps. Okay, if in fact you had a prior one installed, if you scroll way down to the bottom in this kind of right panel, there's a button. I think it's red to delete your web app. Um, that's what I had to do because I had the one that I practiced on. Okay. Okay. So you want to get to the point where you don't have a web app. We're allowed to add one because we've got a beginner account. That's all you're allowed to have for a free account. Okay. So we're going to go and click on this Add New Web App button. Okay. And it says the domain name is going to be urid.pythonanywhere.com. That's fine. That's what you get with the free account. Click on Next. Okay. And even though there's a Django option, don't take it. Okay. We want to pick the last option, manual configuration. And these don't actually look like links, but they are. So click on manual configuration and select a Python version. And in the current semester, we're working with Python 3.8. So we're going to click on that. And then down here in the lower right, we're going to click on Next. And it does a little work to generate that. And now this is the typical layout that you're going to see when you click on the web link and you have a server. Okay. The first thing we have is a reload button. We use this to restart the server. You'll remember that when we're working in PyCharm, okay, we can leave the development server up all the time, and the development server has kind of a code watcher, and anytime our code changes, it reloads it into the development server. Production servers don't work that way. So any change that we make, either to our code or to the configuration things that we're doing here, we have to remember to come back and click on reload. Okay? Now, when you start your server, if you have a beginner account, it will run for 3 months from today. Okay? They'll send you an email warning that it's going to stop. If you want to keep the server up indefinitely, well, then you have to keep coming back here every 3 months approximately and click on this, run until 3 months from today, which I think is Tuesday, 20 July. Okay. Okay, so we're fine with that for now, but on July 21st, if I come back here, the server is going to be stopped, and I'm going to have to click here to restart it. There's all kinds of information about the traffic on our site. I'm not really particularly interested in that. But the next thing I have here to configure is this section called code, and I have instructions for that. So let's just go back to my instructions document, and it says using the web link under the code heading, it says we want to set the source code to our main project directory, and then I've got 3 more things, but let's just do though. Set the source code to our main project directory. Okay, so we're just going to look. And it gives you a suggestion, okay, and mine's going to be home trainer 1. trainer1 is my ID on this server. And then my high-level project directory is called trainer underscore Kevin underscore EZU. And then I click on the check to get it to accept it. Okay, that's good. Working directory should be set to our home directory. Leave that as a home directory. Don't change that. Okay, so the rest of my instructions for working directory, do not change it. Okay. The next thing we have to change is the WSGI configuration file. We're going to click on that and configure it. And then the last one, the Python version, should be already set. So for this whole group under code, the only thing we have left to do is to click on the WSGI configuration file link. Okay. And that's the third. Okay. So we're not going to change where we're pointing to for this, but if we click on the link, it'll bring up the editor and the WSGI configuration file. Okay, now there's a section of this that has to do with Django apps. Okay, and we're going to go find that. Okay. It starts on 74 and it runs through 89. And we're going to do two things in here. We're going to uncomment some of the lines, and we're going to change the names of some of the files that we're pointing to. Okay, and I'm going to pause you while I go find my cheat sheet for that. Okay, so hang on. Okay, I'm back. So I have a cheat sheet for this, and how did I get it? Well, here's what I did. Okay, and this is what you might want to do if you're making any changes. Okay, I just took once I got this properly configured, I did a select all on this whole thing, and I copied it and I saved it in a .py file on my machine. Okay, so now if I have to reconfigure the WSGI.py file, well, I can just bring it over as a cheat sheet. Okay, and you can see that in this area, I've got to do something to lines 76 and 77, and then I've got to do something on 81 through 83. I've got to do something with 85 and then 88 and 89. Okay, so let's start 76 and 77. I just want to take those and I want to uncomment them. So I'm going to highlight them on my machine, which is a Mac. In this editor, if I press Command / I toggle the comments on and off. I suspect that if you're on a Windows machine, you could probably do the same with Control /. Okay, so 76 and 77, all we do is uncomment them. Okay. The next one is 81 through 83. So 81 through 83, we're going to uncomment those. Okay, so I'm going to toggle those off. Now, are those correct? Well, this one is pointing to my site. That's not the name of my project directory. So I'm going to replace the word my site with the name of my project directory, trainer underscore Kevin underscore EZU. Okay, and that's all the configuration that I have to do for those three lines. And then I've got to toggle on 85. Okay, so I'm going to toggle that on. Okay, and this is pointing to my settings within my project directory. And again, my settings directory is not called my site, and I don't just have a file called settings. So first, let's take the configuration directory. Mine's called trainer underscore Kevin. Sorry. Underscore EZU. And then, and then within that, I have a directory called settings. So I can leave that settings right there. And then I need another dot. And within that, I want production. Okay, not production.py, just production. Okay, so that's all we need to do to configure line 85. And we've got two more that we have to uncomment, 88 and 89. So toggle them on, and there are no changes to them. Okay, so that is it. Again, I often keep a copy of this, okay, because if, for instance, you blow away your web server configurations, you lose the settings, okay? And again, how do you keep a copy? Well, you select all, and you copy and you paste it into your text editor, and you save it under the appropriate name where when you want to refer to it as a cheat sheet, you have it available. So are we done with this? No, we haven't saved it. So in the upper right, there's a green button called Save. We're going to save, and that is it. I think that's saved. Let's try it again. Yep, it did save. Okay. Now, are we done? No. We've got more setup to do on the web link. We have to do something on the Virtualenv heading. Okay, we want to find a Virtualenv heading, and we want to click on the link and set to the location of the E4EZU virtual environment in the Virtualenv directory. So let's just go do that. So the upper right, go to the hamburger, and then web link, and now come down. There's a section for Virtualenv, and there's a link where we enter the path. Okay. So our Virtualenv is in /home/our ID, mine's trainer1 / so this is a hidden directory, so it begins with a dot virtualenvs, okay, /e4_EZU. That's it. And then we click on the check mark. So no virtual and it detected at this path. Oh, you know what I did wrong? I didn't type trainer1. I typed trainer. Let's try that. Yeah. Okay, so it found it. Okay, well, geez, we recovered from a problem. All right, so that's all set. Now, we've got plenty of instructions left to do. Okay, number 9. We want to run manage.py. I began using the settings options to point to the production settings file. I wanted you to remember that to run manage.py, we need to point to the production settings. Okay. And then once we learn how to run manage.py, we've got 3 things we have to do. We need to run the migrations, and we've got some special things we need to do there. We need to create a tester super user because we have a new we have a new copy of the database that doesn't have a super user in it, and that we also need to collect the static files with collect static. So let's go back to our console. Okay, so link for consoles, click on our console. Okay, and we're back here. And we're in our project directory. That's the right place to run manage.py. And if you're also following along with the instructions that article that I pointed you to, there is a section for this. Okay, and they say to run manage.py like this. When I run it like that on my machine, that doesn't work. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm typing in, just like I would do if I was at a console that I generated under a PyCharm. I type Python space manage.py. Then the name of the command that I'd like to run. Since we're going to work on the migrations, let's just put a show migrations. Okay, but you have to point it to the settings file. Okay, so here's the option, -- settings equal. Okay, and now we have to point it to the settings file. Okay, so we're in the project directory. We have to point to the configuration directory dot settings dot production. So the configuration directory is also called trainer one. Trainer underscore Kevin underscore EZU. That's the configuration directory. Dot settings for the settings directory. Dot production. Okay. Now, if I hit enter, it'll run manage.py. Okay. Now, having to type in the settings and all that stuff, that's a lot of typing. And one of the things that I do is I use the up arrow to go back to prior entries, and then I backspace over it and I type. Okay, and I recommend that you do the same thing or you'll get sick of typing. So that's the show migrations. So the first thing that we want to do, let's go back to our instructions. We want to run migrations. We want to run well, we're going to do that with the migrate command. Okay, and there's one special problem here, and I kind of talked about it, maybe in the last part of this tutorial. The last of the migrations, the one that we do to run the group permissions, it's kind of sticky. The first time you run it, it doesn't seem to work. Okay, so we're going to have to run that particular run twice. So let's do this. So I've already used the back arrow to get the last command that I had entered. Okay, and that's fine, but I don't want to show migrations. I want it to be a migrate. So I'm just going to backspace over this. Sorry, gotta click there to get on the line. And I'm going to backspace over this and get right behind it. And then, and when I say I'm going to backspace, I did that with the left arrow. Okay, you move along the line with the arrow keys. If you want to get rid of text, you use the backspace. So it got rid of show migrations, and I just say migrate. Okay, and now You don't have to go back to the end of the line. You can just hit the enter key. And now it's applied all the migrations. And let's do a show migrations. So I'm going to up arrow to get the command. And I'm going to up arrow again, because there's my show migrations, and just hit enter. And you can see that they're all applied, including the last of these course info ones is create group permissions. And this is the one that I've had trouble with. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to back that off. So we're going to back off so we've only applied through 6, and then we're going to reapply 7. That seems to solve the problem. Why do we have the problem? I think it's a bug. It's a bug in either my code or theirs. Could be mine. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look. So let's go back up 2 lines, up arrow twice. There's the migrate. Use the left arrow to get back here. So we're going to say migrate course info, name of our app, and we want to go back to 0006 and hit enter. And it says it's unapplying migration 7. Okay. And then let's use the up arrow key again and go back and change that to 7. Okay, and enter. And now it says it's applied 7. And now I'm going to use the up arrow to go back and find my show migrations. There it is. Okay. And we can see that we're applied all the way through 7. So that worked great. All right, what's the next thing I want to do? Well, I want to do 9b, create the tester super user. Okay, it's really important to do this here because of the password that we've been using with tester, this secret in parens. If you try to fool around with the tester user when you're in the admin app, it won't take that password for the tester in the admin app, but it will take it here using manage.py. So let's go back. Let's see, here we are. Yeah, okay, this is good enough. So let's, we're going to change the command that says show migrations. We're going to backspace over it and turn it into create super user. Okay, enter. Okay, so what's the username? Tester. Okay, email address, I'm not going to enter. Password, secret in parens, the one we've been using all semester. Put it in again. Lowercase secret in parens. It complains, but we're able to override it with a Y. And with a super user was created successfully. Okay, are we done? No. When we're on the production server, we need to do collect static to collect up the static files because the production server is going to serve them. The production server is going to have the HTTP server serve them and not the Django server. So we need all the static files collected up in one place. From the work we did earlier, that should be properly configured. We just have to run it. Okay, so if you look on our instructions, we're come down to 9C, collect static file using the collect static command. Okay, so let's do that. And again, I'm just going to up arrow to get a manage.py, and I'm going to left arrow back and turn my create super user into a collect static. Okay, and press enter. and it waits a while, but then it says 136 static files were copied to home, trainer 1, trainer Kevin EZU static, right where they're supposed to be. Let's just go confirm that we can see them. Okay, so we're going to go over to the Files tab, okay, and let's click on the main project directory and click on static. And now if we click on course info, we'll see our few static files for course info. And then I'm going to use the back arrow on the browser, and I'm going to click on admin, and you're going to see I've got a bunch of these here. So let's just look at the CSS. Yeah. So the admin has a lot of CSS files. Okay, that's all set. Worked just like we wanted it to work. Okay, now we're not done because we need to configure the server to know where we just put the static files. So item 10 on the instructions, using the Python Anywhere web link, configure static files setting on the web page. Remember to set values for both the URL and the directory. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so we're going to go to the web link. Okay, now there's a section for static files. Static files. It's got 2 entries. Okay, and these are the same as the entries that we would have put at the bottom of our settings file. Okay, so we're going to click on this enter URL, and it's suggesting /static/, and that's just what we need, /static/, and click on the check mark. That's done. Okay, and then enter path. Okay, and it's this. So you begin with home, and then your user ID. Mine's trainer 1. Okay, then the name, then the direct. Oh, I don't know why my 1 doesn't seem to take. Trainer 1, and then the directory for my project. Mine's trainer Kevin EZU. And then within that, it's a directory called static. And that's it. Just click on the check mark. And it found that just fine. So now our static files are configured, and they're going to be served by whatever HTTP server they use at Python Anywhere. It could be the Apache HTTP server. It's probably something like Nginx. Okay, that's what's serving our static files. Okay, so we did that. We did 10. So using the Python Anywhere web link, this is number 11, start the production server using the reload button. Remember that you need to use the button to restart the server whenever you make changes to your code or your configuration. Okay, I'll remember that. That's up at the top. Okay, so we need to go up and click on this green reload button, and it usually does a little bit of thinking, and what it's really doing is restarting our server. Okay, so the production server again, which is probably again, we can't see what it is here. If we looked in the log files, we could probably see. It's probably a production server called Goonicorn, which is short for green unicorn. That's the most popular of the production servers that we use for Django. Okay. All right, so we've got that started. Everything's all set. Are we ready to test? Yeah, I think we are. So what do we say? Yeah, number 12, log into the Django admin app and create the users with proper group membership and passwords. Refer to the documentation from the Authentication and Authorization assignment. Okay, so I'm going to put you on pause while I get that documentation, okay? Okay, we're back. So in the current semester, that documentation uh, is in the starter files for part two of the tutorial for EZU authentication and authorization. So if you if you download that and expand that, we've got users for EZU. So I'm just going to open that up. And of course it opens on another monitor, but here it is. So we've already created the tester, right? So the tester, they all have this secret password. They're all going to be marked as active in the admin app. They're all going to be a member of staff. Both the tester and the sysadmin are super users. And then for the clerk, the scheduler, and the registrar, they're going to be a member of one of our groups. Okay, and then the coworker isn't a member of any of our groups. So as you remember, they're only going to be able to see the About page. So that's how to find your way to that documentation, and that's what we're going to set up. Okay. All right. Well, we have got a lot of windows here. Okay, so we're back. So how do we get to our how do we create a window to go to our web application? Well, there's a link to it right here. So it's urid.pythonanywhere.com. So I'm just going to click on that link. And here we are. The server's up. I'm not logged in. I can see the About page, just what I thought. Okay. I'm not done because there are two more things that need to be done. Okay, let's just take a peek at the at this. Okay, so well, three altogether. In item 12, we need to create the users and give them the right connect them to the right groups. Okay. Number 13. Okay. We need to log in as one of the more powerful users and create test data. Okay. What I say is create 4 instances of everything. When we get in there, we're not going to have anything. Okay. And then once we have the data in, I want you to test the application to make sure that it's working. So when I go to test it, oh, it's going to run just fine. Okay, so let's go do that. Okay, so first thing, creating the users. Let's log in as tester. Okay, so tester. Give it the old secret password. Okay. All right, good. So tester's a super user, so that'll be able to do everything with instructors. So there are no instructors, but we could add one. Same for sections, same for courses, same for semesters, same for students, same for registrations. And we can see the About page, which we've already seen. Okay, let's go to the admin app. Let's go up to the URL and go to the admin app. Okay. And I think what we really wanted to do is we wanted to go here. Admin. That's where we wanted to be. Okay. And then we're going to click on users. And right now we've just got tester. That's good. And let's remind ourselves of the people that we want to create. Sysadmin, clerk, scheduler, registrar, coworker. Now I don't have to keep this up because I remember what powers they're supposed to have. So go ahead to the upper right, add user. Sysadmin. Give it the secret password. Save and continue editing. Okay. I'm not going to give these people names and email addresses because they're not real people anyway. But the important things for the sysadmin, click the checkbox for staff status, click the checkbox for super user status. Because it's a super user, it doesn't have to be a member of any of the groups. Okay? And then we can click on save and add another. And I'm going to show you the next one, but not all of them. So the next one I have is clerk. And I'm going to give them the secret password. And do that. Save and continue editing. Okay. So they're a member of staff, so staff status check. Do not check super user. Okay. And a clerk is a user. They can see stuff. And then we click on the right arrow and they're that. Okay. And so I'm going to save and add another. Okay, so I'm going to pause it. While I'm pausing it, I'm going to add scheduler, registrar, and coworker. You're going to do the same, and then we'll meet back here after the pause. And here's the... Okay, so we're back from the pause, and I've added coworker, registrar, and scheduler to the 3 users that we had already. So I've got all my users, and they should have the right capabilities. So let's just take a look at that. Let's log out. We're logged in as a tester that can do everything. So let's log out and come to our login page. Let's log in as the clerk and give them their secret password. And you can see we can see everything, although there isn't anything to be seen. Okay, so these are all empty lists, and there are no buttons to add anything because the clerk hasn't got that authority. Okay, good. Let's log out as the clerk. Okay, let's log in as the coworker, and you'll remember the coworker can only see the about page. Okay, not that it creates a lot of value, but this covers a user who's authorized on another app on the same server, on the same Django server. So they don't have any of our, they're not a member of any of our groups, and they're not a super user, so we'll let them see the about page. Okay, which isn't a whole lot because we'll let anybody see the about page. And then we're going to log out. And for right now, we're just going to test scheduler and put in the password. Okay, and we've got the scheduler, and they can add instructors and sections and courses and semesters. Okay, so I can use that to add data. Okay, and then let's log out there, and let's add, let's log in the registrar and give them their secret password. Okay, and they can see instructors and sections and courses and semesters, but they can also add students and registrations. Okay, so that's pretty well tested. Now, don't leave me without any data to test your application. So the next thing that you need to do, which may be the last, let's just look, is this item 13. You need to create a minimum set of test data where we have 4 instances of everything. Okay, so we need 4 instructors, 4 sections, 4 courses, 4 semesters, 4 students, 4 registrations. That's all you need, 4 of everything. Okay, now remember to add data to instructors, sections, courses, and semesters. You need to be logged in as a scheduler. To add data for students and registrations, you need to be logged in as a registrar. And then first, one kind of fancy thing that you may not be remembering, you need to log in as the scheduler in order to add years and periods. Okay, so let's go do that. Let's log out as registrar. Okay, let's log in as a scheduler. And you'll notice that we don't have any years and periods from which to make semesters. So let's go add them. Remember that the registrar is going to do that through the admin app. So let's go and do the admin app. Okay. First of all, let's do years. Okay. How many years do you need? 4. 4 of everything, right? 4 of everything but periods. So add year. Let's do 2020. Saving that another. 2021. 2022. 2023. Save. There they are. So we've got 4 years. Okay, and then let's just go add 3 periods. Okay, so add a period. Okay, start with spring. Okay, so, oh, sorry, I don't know how that happened. So, period sequence 1 should be spring. Save and then add another. Period sequence 2 should be summer. And then the last one, period sequence 3 should be fall. Okay. Okay, so we've got spring, summer, and fall because of the sequences. They come in the right order. All right. All right, so then now let's go back to our app. Okay. And let's add some semesters. Okay, so create a new semester. Let's create year 2020 fall. We created it. That looks good. And let's create another one, 2021 spring. That's good. And let's create another semester, 2021 summer. And let's create another semester, 2021 fall. Okay, so we've got 4 of those. All right, so you need to do 4 instructors, 4 and then 4 courses, and then because the section is a combination of the instructor and the course, then you can do 4 sections. And then you're going to have to change yourself out to be the registrar and add 4 students and then add 4 registrations. Now, one thing that we could have done that we didn't do, and I just want to point out, is we had to load the semesters by hand, right? We could have created a data migration for that, like we did for the groups and the group permissions. Okay, we just didn't do it. Okay, so you can have data migrations that you could run, just like we just ran them, in order to set up the kind of infrastructure of your app and not have to be doing things like add semesters by hand. I guess you could do that for your courses as well, right? So there are some things that you could do when you go over to your production server to keep from having to populate it by hand. All right. Okay, so remember, we need 4 instructors, 4 sections, 4 courses. We already have 4 semesters. We need 4 students and 4 registrations, and do some testing to make sure this all works, and then you're done. Okay, it's a lot of work, but you have a deployed app. So that's it for part 3. Good luck on finishing that up. I'm going to leave you to do that on your own, and I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye bye.